Self-publishing changed my life for the better. I would not be sitting here if it wasn't for self-publishing, but I know how overwhelming it can seem to get started with self-publishing. So what I have for you today is a 12-step roadmap for how to get your book into the hands of readers. All the decisions you need to make, all the things you need to think about, I've got it all here for you today. So let's get started. Are you going to publish your first book in 2026? I know you can do it. I know that it feels overwhelming and sometimes it's like maddening looking around at what everybody else is doing and thinking, oh my gosh, there's so much to learn. And there is a lot to learn, but also you can totally do this. You just need the checklist and you need to go decision by decision, step by step. Welcome to Heart Breathings, by the way. If you are new here, my name is Sarra Cannon. I am about to publish my 31st novel. And so, what better time to talk about what are the steps you really need to take and what are the things you need to have in place? Now, I have 12 steps here for you. I also have a free checklist. If you are on my newsletter list, you already got this sent to your email today. If you are not on my newsletter, come join us. There's tons of free resources, including today's checklist, as well as another checklist inside the resource library that's called Everything You Need to Know Before You Self-Publish, that has a step-by-step of all the micro details you need to decide along the way. And if there's anything else you want to see inside the resource library, I'm going to be making lots of free resources for you this year. So let me know what you want to see. But otherwise, go sign up for that list. I will see you over there. But before we start with the first one, I do want to say that there is no one path fits all to self-publishing. All of these decisions, there's no like make or break it, and there's no this is the absolute right way to do it. You will find some authors that use Kindle Unlimited and some that don't. Some people who do Kickstarters and some that don't. Some people that are on social media, some people that take out ads. There's a million ways to find success and you cannot mess it up. You're going to be fine. But what I want to do is just present you with a high level overview of here's the steps, here's the things you need to think about. And then if you really want to go deeper in this and you want strategic, personalized support on creating this map for yourself, like the exact decisions you want to make, come join us in my Publish and Thrive class. This is a 6-week self-publishing class. It's open for enrollment right now, but if you miss the enrollment, it does open a couple of times a year. So make sure you're on my list to hear more about it. But if you want to come join us, if you're watching this video as it comes out, we start on Saturday. Enrollment is open now. And we walk you through all of these decisions. And in fact, I did a video last year, a live stream walking you guys through the entire course and every decision that's in the course, all the information. It's over 100 videos, but they're really easy to consume. There's a private podcast, there's lifetime access, so you can go through it as you need it. So I'll link that video down for you below. But let's get started with the first part of your roadmap, which is know your goal. Knowing what you want out of this career and what's most important to you as an individual is one of the most important foundational things that you can do for yourself, because there are all kinds of paths and there's not one is better than the other, but whatever you most want, whatever aligns most with your goals is going to be the best path for you. Some people value community. Some people value getting books out as quickly as they can. Some people value making as much money as they can. Some people have a goal of making a full-time career out of this, and some people don't. And the decisions that you're going to make are really going to be determined by what your personal goal is. So this is really where we start. What do you want out of this? What's an author that you can look up to and say, I want the kind of career they have? What is the amount of money that you hope to make out of this? How many books feel sustainable for you to write every year? I want you to first just sit down and maybe journal a little bit about what is it I really want as an indie author? What's my real goal and what does success look like to me? And then once you have some of those answers, it's going to help you make some of these other decisions, because your personal strategy, the one that's going to work best for you, really needs to line up with what your personal goals are. And I could go into this even more, but I'm going to try to make it through this checklist. But let me know in the comments if there's anything that I say here that you're like, I wish you would say more about that, so that I know some future videos to make, because I really want to get through this checklist today. Number 2 on your roadmap is to write a great book. We all know this. It goes without saying to a degree, but what is a great book? It doesn't mean that you have to be the greatest writer of all time or that you're winning a Pulitzer Prize, but no matter what you're writing, be it a children's book, a poetry book, nonfiction, fiction, it needs to be the best book, first of all, you can write with your skill right now. But also, you need to understand, what is the genre? What is it that I'm writing? Who is the reader that I'm most talking to? So think of it this way: if you were to walk into a bookstore and go looking for your book, what section of the bookstore would you go into? Would it be romance? And if so, would it be paranormal romance or contemporary romance? Would it be mystery? And if it's a mystery, is it a psychological, a domestic thriller? Is it a cozy mystery? The more you can really niche down to knowing exactly what it is you're writing, the more marketable your book will be. And so, one of the most foundational things that you can set yourself up for success from the start is to understand exactly what kind of book you're writing, what's the genre and the subgenre of the book, and understanding at a deep level what it is that readers of that genre love most about that genre. The more you can really understand that from the start, the more successful all your marketing is going to be. Because if you don't understand your genre, you won't really know what kind of cover appeals to those readers. You won't know the right kind of title to put on your book. You won't know all the other decisions like metadata, blurbs, and all of that. So, foundationally, write a great book. But as a piece of that, you really need to understand what kind of book you're writing in as much detail and clarity as possible. Step number three on the path is to hire an editor. You can also self edit if you're really trying to stay on a budget or you just don't have the money. That's what I did when I first started. I had a critique group. So I did not pay any money for editing when I first got started. But as I started making money, I went back and edited those original books. So we're not going to get into an editing debate here, but I will say that there are three main types of editors that indie authors use. The first is a developmental editor. This is the kind of editor that's going to go through your book and help you with plot and consistency and storyline and making sure you're writing the genre you think you're writing. This is a much more expensive, high level edit and usually happens somewhere around the rough draft phase, but not like a proofread stage. By then, it's too late for developmental edits. The second type of editor is a line editor. So, this is an editor that goes through your manuscript once it's as final draft as it can be on your self edit piece. And they will go line by line, check for consistency, sentences that don't really read right, or things that don't make a lot of sense. They sometimes will help you with plot, but for the most part, they're just going line by line to make sure that the writing is as good as possible. The third type of editor is a proofreader, and this is really just a final pass. By the time your book goes to a proofreader, it needs to already be as good as it can be in terms of the grammar and sentence structure and that sort of thing. The plot needs to be done, the characters need to be consistent, all of that needs to be in place. So, this is really just that last pass to go through and polish your book. Not all indie authors use all three of those types of editors. I do not use a developmental editor, but I know many authors who do. So, which editors you use is going to be determined really by how much money do you have to spend on edits. Because again, this can be a big debate. We can do another video on this if you guys want. But I don't recommend that you spend so much in your edits and cover art and the book packaging that it's going to be impossible for you to publish book two. You want a long career as an indie author. And if you have a $5,000 budget and you spend all of that on your first book, then that book needs to make back that $5,000 and then some for you to even have a hope of publishing your second book. But the best way to start making consistent sales as an indie author is to publish more books. So you don't want to put yourself in a position where you're so far in debt on your first book that you can't afford to keep publishing, because the truth is, you're probably not going to make that money back. I always recommend budgeting for your first three books. So if you have a $5,000 budget out, how is that going to help me publish all three of my first books? And don't freak out if you're like, Sarah, I do not have $5,000 to self publish. I self published for $50 when I first got started. Now, that was 2010. Things are different now, but you can save money by self editing, really getting good at it, using something like Grammarly or another sort of pro writing aid or grammar checker online, having a critique group, getting some beta readers, then using a pre made cover, things like that. But you want to get the highest quality of editing that you can for the money that you have. And so I highly recommend saving up for that line editor, especially if you know you are someone who struggles with plot or with consistency, or you really struggle with grammar. You're going to need to have your book professionally edited, but only you can make that decision. But that is step 3, is to hire an editor or have your book edited. Step 4 on the journey is to create your strategy. So I know that we all want to jump ahead to, how do I format? How do I get my books going? How do I market? But really take a pause here as the book is getting completed and getting edited, and really start thinking about how you're going to publish your book. So some of the decisions that go into a publishing strategy is your timeline. For example, do you want to do a pre-order period where the book is up for sale, but they don't actually get the book until you know what a pre-order is? So do you want to have a long pre-order period where you're promoting the book throughout the pre-order and then you have a bigger launch? Or do you want to rapid release your books where you hold back 2 or 3 and then you publish one a month for the first 3 months of your career? Do you want to go exclusive to Amazon, Kindle Unlimited with your ebooks? Or do you want to be wide and be at Apple Books and Kobo and Google and Barnes and Noble? Do you want to simultaneously publish your paperbacks, ebooks, and audio, or are you just going to start with ebooks? There's a lot that goes into strategy. And this is really where a course like Publish and Thrive can help you, because we go in detail with all these decisions. But if you are not ready for this course or you're not interested in the course, I do recommend that you start kind of paying attention to the different ways that people are getting their books into the world. Kickstarters, for example, it's very, very high workload, but it also can be a way to start making money from your books right away. So, looking into these different strategies, and instead of just looking at what other people are doing, think about your goal. Remember, that was step 1. What's your goal in publishing? And does this path, does this strategy align with that goal? You also, at this stage, can be thinking about branding. So now you know what genre you're writing and what type of readers that genre appeals to. So, what do you want your author brand, your presence online? What do you want people to know you as? So, this goes into your strategy, is your overall brand, which is not just the visual way people perceive you as an author, but also the words that you use to describe yourself, the ways you talk about things, the tone that you have online, especially if you're doing social media. And that's another piece of strategy. Do you want to be on social media, or do you want to focus mostly on ads? How do you think you'll want to be discovered? So, spending a little bit of time thinking about that strategy up front can keep you from scrambling later in the game. Number 5 is to build your brand awareness. Now, this one is a little bit optional because you don't actually have to start building brand awareness before your book is published, but it can be so helpful in this day and age to launch to an already existing audience. So, building brand awareness is about doing things like setting up your author website, being on social media and starting to build a fan base there if you want to be. It's not a requirement to be on social media, but just a reminder that it is a free way to reach billions of people on the planet and to market your books for free. But just understanding where you're going to find your readers and how they're going to find you. So it could be setting up a newsletter for yourself, setting up a website for yourself. Newsletter, one of the things that authors like to do is create what we call a reader cookie or a reader magnet, where you can basically offer people something to read for free. You can do this through a site called BookFunnel, which I highly recommend. You can do this on your own social media. You can do this through author collaborations. There's lots of ways to start getting it out there. You can say, hey, come read the first 3 chapters of my book, or come read a prequel of my story, or get a free map of my world if you sign up for my newsletter list. You offer them a cookie, something for free, and then they come join your newsletter list. Can be chapters, short story, anything that your readers might be interested in. Once you have them on your newsletter list, then you can start marketing to them, letting them get to know you a little bit, telling them a bit more about your book, so that when you have that brand awareness and you launch that book, now you already have 10 people that buy the book on day 1, that kind of thing. But also, just wherever you're seen, in Facebook groups, around reader groups, on social media, at conferences, at book signings. You don't have to do all of those things, but being aware already about how you're going to let readers know you exist, because this is the most challenging piece of being an indie author. Is there are millions of authors, millions of books, and how do you get connected to the readers that are going to like what you're putting out there? So you got to start thinking about discoverability and brand awareness right from the start. So newsletter, website, social media, where are you going to connect with readers? Design an eye-catching book cover. So, this is really one of the most fun pieces of the process because there is nothing more exciting than like seeing the cover of your book with your name on it. It is just an incredible feeling. But you want to make sure that that cover at a glance conveys the exact genre and tone and themes of your book. Because remember, I was talking about how the most challenging piece of being an indie author is discoverability, making readers aware of you. You are going to spend a lot of time in your career putting yourself out in front of readers, whether it's social media or ads or collaborations or whatever way you get in front of readers. And you're going to have a split instant to convince them to buy your book, basically. And that is going to be number one, your book cover, your title, your genre, all of those things that they can just consume at a glance is going to be the most important sort of first step, introducing them to your brand and your book. So if you're writing a mystery and that reader that you have worked so hard to connect to and to have them discover your book, you have this 5 second, split second moment of them seeing your book and they're a mystery lover and you write mystery, you better make sure that the second they glance at your book cover, they go, "Ooh, that's the kind of mystery I like." How do you do this? You got to research what's going on in the market and it does change over time. So you got to make sure you understand, what do covers of the type of mystery I write, what do they look like? What are readers most responding to? And again, none of this is about copying someone else, but it's about understanding, how do I signal to the reader what it is that I'm putting out there in front of them? Because a reader is going to make a split second decision when they see that book cover of, is this something I need to take a closer look at or not? And so that book cover does a lot of heavy lifting. Now, there are lots of ways to get book covers. Obviously, you can make your own, which, if you are not a graphic designer and you don't have an eye for this and you don't understand the legalities of font and which covers you can use, I do not recommend making your own cover, but you can. You can do a pre-made cover, meaning there are a lot of cover artists out there who will make covers that just have like a mock title. They'll say, "Here's all my contemporary romance covers," and they'll sell them for cheaper. It's kind of like their own advertising for their business. And a lot of times you can pick those up for 50, 75, $100 or less. And sometimes you can even get a whole series of like a trilogy for $150. So pre-made covers can be a great way to do that. There is a Facebook group called Book Cover Design Marketplace. There's also, if you go onto Google and you just search for pre-made romance covers or pre-made mystery covers, you'll find cover artists that way. And you can get a good pre-made cover. Also, you can get a custom designed cover. And really, you can go as expensive as having someone completely do a custom photo shoot and all of that. But just keep in mind that you've got a budget that you want to stick to, hopefully, at this point. If not, we're going to set that in this next step. But you want to make sure that you're spending enough money to get a good cover that conveys genre, that looks professional, but not so much that you can't afford to publish your next book. But that cover is going to be super important. Okay, moving on to step 7 is to set up your business structure. So, this is something a lot of people don't think about, but before you even go in and set up your account at Amazon, you need to know what tax ID you're using. Some of this stuff can be changed depending on which vendor you're going to. Like Barnes and Noble will not let you change your tax ID. So whatever you put in first is what you stick with, or you have to start all over. Most places like KDP, you can change your tax ID, but the more things you can have settled from the beginning, the better off you're going to be. So again, some of this business structure you can change and shift later, but you want to try to set yourself up for success right at the start. So, are you going to be a sole proprietor? Are you going to start an LLC and your own publishing company? If you're not here in the United States, what is the business structure like in your country in order to sell books on Amazon? What kind of tax ID? Can you get a bank account that they will pay out to? Or are you in a country that Amazon will not pay out to? So you have to figure out that kind of bank stuff. This is often the sort of thing that people will get stuck on because it feels kind of scary. But the truth is, it's just a matter of doing the research, getting into author groups, taking a course like Publish and Thrive, and asking the questions and knowing that you can figure this out. You are smart. You are powerful. There is the world at your fingertips. So don't let this scare you like you can't do it. I know you can do it. You can figure this out. People have done it. So the information is out there. You just want to make sure that you're going to trusted sources so that you're doing the right things. But when we start thinking about business structure, you want to think about LLC, S Corp, sole proprietor, or whatever business or tax structure is available in your country. What tax ID are you going to use? What accounts will you need to sign up for? What is your business budget going to be? What are you going to be allowed to write off? So, here in the United States, and probably most countries in the world, you make money, but you can write off some of that income. Where if you say, well, I bought this computer for my business, now that doesn't count as income in your career because it is a business expense. So, really understanding and getting clear on all of those obligations, all the liabilities that go along with starting business, but also what are the benefits to different types of business. Knowing your business structure can be really important so that you have all that in place before you start your bank accounts or get your tax IDs, start your retailer accounts, and all of the stuff that you're going to do for your author business. Okay, number 8 is to sign up for your publishing accounts. In your strategy earlier, you hopefully made some decisions about where you're going to publish your book, what formats you're going to publish your book in. So you already know, hopefully by this point, or now's the time to make a decision about where do I need to sign up for retailer accounts. Because once you are an indie publisher, a self publisher, you are the one who is going to upload your books and get them onto Amazon and Barnes and Noble and all of those places. And there's a couple different ways that you can do this. So, one is to go direct to as many places as possible. So, you would make an account at Amazon's KDP or Kindle Direct Publishing. You would make another account at Google Play, another account at Barnes and Noble, and another account at Apple. Or another thing that you can do is sign up for a third party aggregator, something like Draft to Digital or Publish Drive, where you upload your book to them and then they distribute it to all those places for a fee. Well, usually it's free to do it, but then they take a percentage of your profits. So, depending on whether you want to create all those accounts and manage those uploads, or you want to make it as easy as possible and use an aggregator, also, do you want to put your books into hardcover or paperback right away? Do you want to publish your audiobooks right away? Are you going to use Audible or are you going to use Spotify? Like, where would you like your books to be available? So, this is another thing to decide and then get all of those publisher accounts set up. In addition to publisher accounts, you want to consider signing up for things, like I said, like BookFunnel, which is a really great tool for getting your books out to ARC readers as well as getting newsletter subscribers, various things like that. Also, Ingram Spark is pretty much the main place that indies use to get their books distributed to local bookstores and libraries, although there are thankfully more and more options popping up. So now you can use Draft to Digital for this, and there are more options coming for ways to distribute your book to local bookstores. But for the most part, indies here in the United States use Ingram Spark, and you might have different distributors to get into local bookstores if you are not in the United States. So you want to go ahead and do some of that research if that's important to you and get those accounts signed up for. So in order to sign up for those accounts though, that's why we had the business structure first, because that business structure is going to give you a credit card, your bank accounts, your LLC or tax ID, et cetera. And you will need all of that information when you sign up for your retailer accounts. Okay, this one is probably the biggest one in terms of all the decisions to make, but I lumped it all into one, and that is number 9, make all metadata decisions. So, metadata is basically all of the data associated with your book. So, for example, when I go to upload my book to KDP or to Amazon, I need to know the title, the series title, the description of the book, my author pen name, any categories that it belongs in, like romance, vampires, whatever it may be, any keywords that I'm going to use, the ISBN or any other numbers associated with my book, any reviews I want to use, author bio, every little detail or piece of data that gets associated with my book, any numbers, any words, any descriptions, is all of my metadata. Do yourself a favor right from the start of your career and create some system for yourself of how you're going to keep your metadata organized. Because, especially if you're publishing wide, you want to make sure that the series title is always the same. So, for example, if my series is called The Shadow Demon Saga, and then I go onto Amazon and I put Shadow Demon Saga for book one and The Shadow Demon Saga for book two, it's not going to connect those as a series because the metadata does not match. So they both need to be exact matches. ISBNs, this is another thing that gets people so in a tizzy. And there's actually information all over the internet that is wrong about ISBN. So if you guys want to see a dedicated ISBN video, let me know. But you just need to make a decision of whether you're going to use each retailer's free ISBN for paperbacks, hardcovers, and audiobooks, or if you're going to purchase your own. Some countries, shout out to like Canada and some of the other countries that don't have to pay for their own ISBNs. Your country will give you free ISBNs. If you are in the United States or Australia or the UK, you have to pay for your own ISBNs. But one important fact is you do not need an ISBN for ebooks. That is not a fact. You do not need one. You can have one, but you don't have to have one. You do have to have an ISBN for each other format that your book is in. So if it's in paperback, audio, hardcover, you need 3 separate ISBNs. This is another thing that can play into massive amounts of budget if you need to purchase lots and lots of ISBNs. However, these retailers will use their own ISBN. And it doesn't mean that they own your book. It just means that you're giving them the right to distribute and sell your book on your behalf. So, again, I know this can be a huge topic. I'm trying not to have this video be an hour and a half long. If you want to see more of a deep dive on ISBNs, let me know in the comments. But for now, I'll just tell you this is one of the decisions that you need to make as to whether you're going to use your own or use one of the retailers' ISBNs. But this is also price of your book. This is another number or a piece of data associated with your book. This goes into strategy too. What are you going to price your book at? Are you going to be in Kindle Unlimited or are you going to be wide? What is the pricing strategy for your book? Because you might want to price book one differently from the rest of your series. You're definitely going to want to price your paperbacks higher than your ebooks and so on. So, what's your pricing strategy for your books? What about taglines and hooks? So, what is a good tagline of your book that maybe has some keywords in it? What are some hooks that are going to appeal to your ideal reader? What keywords are you going to use? A really great tool for keywords is Kindlepreneur. If you are not familiar with Dave Chesson's Kindlepreneur, I will link his channel down below, but he has amazing resources on keywords and a program that's called Publisher Rocket that will help you determine the best keywords for your books. But also, you can do your own research on Amazon and Google for keywords as well. Categories are basically those niched down spots inside the bookstores or the retailers that are like romance, vampires, paranormal romance, vampires, etc., or mystery, cozy mystery. You'll have a genre and a subgenre. Those are the categories, but they're different depending on which retailer you're at. So Apple has a lot less categories than a place like Google, and Google has different categories than Amazon, and Amazon has different categories than Kobo. So everybody kind of has their own categories. They are often the same, but they don't always have exact same wording. So you got to do some research. Spend some time on each of the retailers that you plan to publish with. Look at books that you think are similar to yours and notice what categories they've been put into, what are the blurbs that they're using, and really get that metadata solidified for yourself. Because even just writing a blurb can be so stressful. A description of your book, that can be so hard. So you're going to want to make time to make all of these decisions. And I have a list of them in this checklist that I gave to you, as well as in that everything you need to know before you self-publish checklist that's in the free resource library. Okay, we are down to the final 3. Number 10 is to format your book. So once you know where you're going to publish it and which formats you're going to publish your book in, you need to take your edited file, your best work, and format it into the proper format. So for ebook, the universal format is an EPUB. For paperbacks, you're going to need paperbacks and hardcovers, you're going to need a PDF. So you'll need a PDF for the book cover and a PDF for the actual book itself. And there's lots of different trim sizes. So the most common trim sizes for indie paperbacks are 5x8, 5.5 by 8.5, or 6x9. Then you have basically that 5.5 by 8.5 or 6 by 9 are the typical hardcover sizes as well. So you're going to need those formatted correctly so that they're lining up with a template that you can use on Amazon or Ingram Spark or wherever you're going to publish. If you are publishing your audiobooks, you're going to need MP3s. And especially if you're going to publish at Audible, they need to be a specific quality. So you can't just use your mic in your echoey house and record your own audiobook. You also can't use AI audiobooks everywhere, but some places will allow you to use AI. So when we talk about formatting your books, there are some things to learn. So the first step is to say, what formats do I plan to start publishing in? And keep in mind too that you can start out just ebook and you can add paperback, you can add audiobooks later, you can add hardcovers later. So you don't have to do all the things all at once. You don't have to publish them all at once. You can just start with one and then later add the rest. So if that helps you a little bit, typically you will sell more audiobooks if the audiobook and the ebook come out at the same time. However, you don't have to push yourself. So this is where we go back to your strategy and your goals and your own individual, like what works for you decisions. So don't let anybody pressure you. Don't let it hold you back. Just do the best that you can to publish what you can right now. In terms of formatting ebooks, there's a few different ways to do it. So, one, if you're only publishing to Kindle, you can use the Kindle Create software. It's a download that you can get right there from KDP, but you can only use that. It's like a KPF and an EPUB. You can only use that at Amazon. So, you can't take Kindle Create and then publish that at Barnes and Noble. Also, people use something called Vellum. This is one of the best softwares for making your book look beautiful. You can do hard covers, you can do paperbacks, you can do large print, you can do ebooks all on one device. However, Vellum is a little bit expensive. I'm not sure what the price is now, but I think when I bought it years ago, it was $300 or $400. So it's somewhere in that price range and it's Mac only. In order to use Vellum, you either need to have a Mac desktop or a laptop, or you can rent time in Mac and Cloud and use it that way. But you have to use Mac to use Vellum. An alternative for PCs that is also going to work on a Mac is called Atticus. So that is another option. I will try to link those down below for you. And if you want to do it for free and you don't want to have to pay for something, you can use Draft to Digital or Readsy. Both have really, really quality book formatting tools. Those are just web based, so you can use them on any computer. You could use them on your iPad or your tablet. I don't know about on your phone, but maybe. And all you have to do is upload your like Word document or your PDF, and it will help you format from there totally for free in both ebook and in paperback. So there's free ways to do a lot of this if you're on a budget or if you want to buy something. Now you can also pay someone to format your books for you. The biggest downside to this is that every time you need to make a change, like you found a typo or you wanted to change the title page or you want to switch out something in the back matter, you got to pay someone or contact them and hope that they still have the files. And so it can often be better to just do this yourself. Now, as you begin to format your books too, you got to be thinking about what all goes into the books. So back matter is the most important thing besides the actual book itself. You've got the copyright page, you've got a table of contents, but in the back of the book, this is a really prime real estate area of your book to market, especially an ebook. So when a reader reaches the end of the ebook, what are you going to ask them to do? Number one thing to ask them to do is to either come sign up for my newsletter. Remember that cookie we were talking about? That is so important. Say, hey, I've got this free bonus scene. Come sign up for my newsletter and I'll send you this scene for free. Just like I'm doing with you now, where I'm like, hey, come sign up for my newsletter and I will give you this checklist. You do that same thing with your readers, get them onto your newsletter list, and then you show them why they're going to benefit from being there. You give them more scenes. You talk to them about how you are as a writer, why you love writing, and hopefully they become fans of your work because the more you give them that they love, the more they're going to love you back, ideally. So, newsletter, asking them to leave a review on your book, that can be a super helpful way to use your back matter. And also, asking them to buy the next book in the series. This is probably the single most important thing you can do with your back matter once you have 2 or more books published is they reach the end of that book, they're loving it, they thought it was amazing. Send them straight to the next book to go buy it. Those are the 3 main things that we do with our back matter as indie authors. And so you might want to spend some time thinking about that as you format your books. Step number 11 is to publish your book. So, all these decisions, all this hard work, everything that you've gotten put together is leading to this moment. Now, maybe you have done some pre marketing, but hopefully, you've at least set up your website, you've got your newsletter ready to go, the formatting is ready, the book is good quality as possible, you've got your cover, and now it's time to actually go to that retailer account where you want to publish and sell your book and publish it. This can mean pre-order. So with a pre-order, you can go anywhere from a short, like 4 or 5 day pre-order to usually up to a year in advance that you can have your book for sale where it isn't actually released yet. Or you can just publish it right away. With indie publishing, if I say I'm going to publish my book on Friday, if I upload that book on Friday, there's a chance it will be available in an hour and a chance it'll be available in 3 days. So the only way to guarantee your book is coming out on a specific day, like actually available for sale, is to set up a pre-order. And again, we could have a longer video on this if you want more details on it, since I don't have time to go into it here. But basically, what a lot of people do is they'll set up that pre-order so they have a specific release date, or they will just tell their fans it's coming out on Friday and they'll upload it 2 or 3 days before that to make sure that it's definitely available by Friday. So either way you do it, your paperback and your audiobook and your ebook will all be published separately. So you don't know for sure that they'll all get published the same day because there's different rules. Like you can't always set up a paperback pre-order. You can't always set up a audiobook pre-order and things like that. So there's tweaks to making this work that you'll learn along the way. But for the most part, you go into your files, your accounts, and you hit, okay, I want to create a new book. And then there are going to be boxes that you fill out, just like any form that you fill out online, where you're going to put in the title, your author name. We didn't even talk about pen names really, but do you want to use a pen name? Do you want to use your legal name? That's a decision you'll want to make all the way back in strategy, but you'll need to have that author name ready to go when you start publishing. What is the description of your book, the keywords, all that metadata that you decided earlier? This is where we're going to just fill in the blanks with those boxes. Then, when it gets to the point where you're ready to upload, you're going to upload whatever format you needed. So, for ebooks, it's usually going to be an EPUB. For paperbacks, it'll be that PDF, and so on. Then you hit publish. And it will be a magical moment. I do highly recommend that when you publish, you keep an eye on your account for it to say, okay, this has gone live. Some places will send you an email that says your book is now available on the Kobo store or whatever. I highly recommend that you go in and you purchase your own book, not only to initiate rankings, so your ranking will start to populate on Amazon once a book is purchased. So just go ahead and purchase it as soon as it's available, but also so you can download it to your Kindle, double check that everything is looking right. Don't leave any of this to chance. This is like your life's work here. Go in and put in the work. I have a Kobo e-reader, a Kindle e-reader. I have iPad, which actually now has died, so I'm going to need to get another one. I'll just check it on my Mac. But I have Barnes and Noble apps, Google Play app, Kobo app. I have all of those apps on my phone. And the second a book goes live, before I even announce it to my readers, I am buying it myself, thumbing through it, making sure there's no errors. Because if there's an error, you have the power to go in, reformat, change it, and upload it to make it look the way that you want it to look. But you want to always go to your pages for your sales page or whatever on each of the vendors and make sure that the spacing looks good, that the blurb is the way you wanted it to be. There's no weird characters in there. Just do that quality control check on your books. But congratulations, at this point, if you reach step 11, your book is out in the world. And step number 12, of course, is to promote your book, market your book. And this is the never ending story when it comes to self publishing. This is the part that never ends, right? You put your book out into the world, and whether you have done pre-marketing where you had an ARC team or a street team or any of that kind of stuff, that pre-marketing can be really helpful at this point. Then if you did an ARC team, which is advanced reader copy team, where you sent out copies ahead of time so that people could leave a review, then right away after publication, you should have some reviews popping up. You should have people already starting to talk about your book if you did influencer marketing or social media marketing or ads or whatever. But even after that launch period and launch strategy is done, you still got to keep marketing. You got to keep reminding people that the book exists. You need to keep up with the blurbs and the keywords and making sure that the cover still stays up to date. And then hopefully you create a strategy of books where either you're writing series all into the same genre, or you're writing standalones that are all closely connected in terms of themes and genre and reader habits and desires and tropes and themes and all that kind of stuff, so that you can make sure that you are continuing to build that brand awareness, and that will market your books for you. And the more books you have out that appeal to the same reader, the more your readers will become loyal and loyal and loyal and buy every book you have and tell everyone about them. And this is the most powerful way. There's lots of tools out there at our disposal as indie authors. So you've got Facebook ads, BookBub ads, you've got newsletter promotions that you can do. You can collaborate with fellow authors in your genre. You can run giveaways. You can do Kickstarters. You can do anthologies where everybody writes a short story and then you tell those readers about your book. So that's another way to collaborate with people. There are lots and lots of ways to market your books, but this is the discoverability piece. And so it becomes this cycle as you get started of I'm going to publish my book, and then I'm going to start writing the next one, and then that one gets published. The good news is that once your accounts are set up, your business is set up, you've got your website going, that stuff is easy to maintain. But it's the marketing, the outreach, the brand awareness, the covers, the writing. That's the stuff that just stays in a cycle. And the more you continue to build on those basic principles and stay in alignment with your own goals, the more the sky is truly the limit for what's possible for you in your author career. So this video, again, over 40 minutes because I cannot just give you a checklist. I have to give you all the examples, but I hope this is serving you. I hope this is giving you some encouragement about the decisions that you're going to make. I hope it's given you some ideas about the things that you need to research and study. But if, as you're going through this, you're like, man, I could really use support in how I make these decisions and how I really build my own personal strategy. How do I launch? How do I set a budget? What type of business structure is best for me? What do I do about these ISBNs? How do I get my books into libraries? What do I want to do in terms of pre-orders or pen names? I am 1000% here for you. Come join us in the Publish and Thrive course. Or if you are not ready to join the class, go ahead and leave some comments down below about the videos you'd most like to see so that I can continue to make free content for you here. But trust me when I say Publish and Thrive will become your go-to resource. There's an index, there's a private podcast, there's quick reference sheets, there's budgeting checklists, there's so many resources that I have poured my heart into. And I know that I undercharge for this course. I could charge double for this course and it would still be well worth the price. But I keep the price as affordable as possible because I know how much there is to learn. And I truly have a passion for helping you get your books out into the world in a way that is going to feel sustainable and exciting and as easy as possible. There's going to be work to do no matter what, but I hope that you feel supported. I hope you feel like this is your year because truly it can be everything you wish it to be and more. All right, sign up for that newsletter. Come join us in Publish and Thrive and let me know in the comments what other videos you'd like to see this year on self-publishing so I can go ahead and start those videos for you. I will see you this weekend for our February notebook challenge, but other than that, I super love you. Let's make this the best publishing year we can. All right, I'll see you in my next one. Bye.